And finally, I would love for you to tell me about your new film.
Yeah. So it's the second. The first film I made for the township was about the building of the Rideau Canal. And then this second one called Fetter Cairn, World War I on Indian Lake. That's a film about a cottage that it's no longer there, but a cottage that was on an island in a lake that's in the township of Rideau Lakes. And the cottage was owned by a family, the Richardson family, and one of the daughters, Agnes Richardson, she's better known as Agnes Etherington because she got married to an Etherington. She came to own the cottage, and she donated this cottage during the First World War to Canada, to the military, to be a hospital for returning soldiers from the First World War. And fairly soon after they started up the hospital, they concluded that this was a good site for sending soldiers that were suffering from what they then called shell shock, if we would know it now as a form of PTSD. And so these soldiers arrived, and they were able to avail themselves of the different programs and the healthcare that was being offered in this cottage hospital during the First World War.
Did you do all of the archival research, or did you work with a team?
So I did my own research, but that involved working with a couple who in the township who had already done some of their own research, and because they'd worked on it, they worked on it before the pandemic, so they were actually able to go to Toronto and go to the archives in Toronto and gather information, and so I sat down with them, and they shared what they had been able to ascertain. And from there, I did my own research based on materials that I could gather from libraries and so on locally about the First World War and about shell shock and about the backdrop to the war, or the backdrop which was the war. The information that I got from the couple in the township was more about the local history and the way that the hospital developed and the people that were involved. The fact that there was a guy that was named Selby who was their carpenter who came and helped expand the building and build new buildings. So it was, it was a bit of a mix of things.
Was it common at the time to offer up places of residence for care, for healthcare, and for soldiers who were injured?
Before the war, it wasn't, but during the war, this was a new program, and it wasn't unique to the island. I didn't know about it until I started to do the research, but across Canada, the government sought out people who had homes and I'm not sure how many cottages there were, but there was more than one cottage. There was an American woman who donated her cottage in the Canadian side of the Thousand Islands. So it was not a unique place in terms of the mechanism that the government used to get to arrange to have these hospitals become a part of the healthcare program. But it was a little bit like right now that the Canada was in an extreme situation as regards healthcare with all of these thousands of returning invalided soldiers, and they didn't have the hospital capacity to handle all of these numbers. And in that case, they asked people to donate their homes.
Could you just speak on your on the creative decisions that were involved with this film in particular.
Images. I was really, really fortunate. And one of the reasons that I chose this topic was that there was a wonderful archive of these black and white photographs that were taken on the island. Many of them were taken by Agnes Etherington, sometimes taken by other people. And this archive of photographs had been maintained, had been retained by the family, her family, and she, her not her offspring, because I don't believe she had any children, but her nephews and nieces saved, they saved the photographs, and they donated them ultimately to the Lakes and Islands archive, and they were posted online. So they're there. You can go to the Lakes and Islands archive of all kinds of images, and including these many images that were donated by the family. And so it's wonderful to have them. And there's such wonderful images of these soldiers and of the different things that were going on the island. I mean, it feels topical right now to look at a story like the Fettercairn story, where these men who had undergone such a lot of difficult stress in the war came to this island where they were able to sort of live in nature and benefit from being able to be in the peace and quiet and the sort of the beauty of nature. And I think that, you know, in some respects right now, we're seeing a little bit of that too, that people are feeling the stress of the pandemic, and it's helpful to them to be able to go out and walk in a park or walk along a trail or go skiing or whatever. It's been actually, or go golfing, you know, just be outside. It's an interesting sort of parallel, and I feel sort of timely for what's going on in Canada right now and in the world.
Yeah, great point. Okay, wonderful. Well, Allison, thank you so much. This was a fascinating conversation.